Welcome to the Deconstructing Data live stream and podcast. I'm Jessie Lezak, CMO at BDEX, along with David Finkelstein, BDEX's founder and CEO. What's new this week, David?
Hey Jesse, just looking forward to Thanksgiving. Getting some things done this week before the Thanksgiving, and looking forward to our Thanksgiving edition of Deconstructing Data.
Yes, definitely. So it's good to be on early on a Tuesday instead of a Thursday. Usually we're live on Thursday.
That's right.
But here we are. We have another really great guest for the show. And today on Deconstructing Data, we're thrilled to welcome Tim Berney. He is the CEO of VI Marketing and Branding. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, Tim. I appreciate you joining us on the show today. And for all of our viewers and listeners out there, we'd like you to kick it off for us and give them a little bit of background about who you are, where you came from, and what led you to found VI Marketing and Branding. And tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing for your customers as well.
Thank you. VI Marketing and Branding is what is called a behavior change agency. We are legacy-wise an ad agency, and what we specialize is behavior change. Ironically, behavior change started off being called social marketing, because the idea is to change social norms. But when social media came along, or what a lot of people called at one point in time social media marketing, some still do, it sort of stole that moniker from us, because that was better known than social marketing. So we call it behavior change marketing today, and the goal of it is to change behaviors of society, or of segments of society in very specific ways, in very specific industries or verticals, or thought processes. VI is a 35-year-old company. We employ about 65 employees, about 2/3 of which are in Oklahoma City, which is where we were founded and located, and the rest are spread out across the country. We are known for a couple of things. We win a ton of creative awards. In fact, there's a saying that if you've won one best of show, you're lucky. If you've won two best of shows, you're legit. We've won 11. We have a really large paid media staff, planning staff, and really enjoying our best years ever the last 3 years. So we apply behavior change not only to societal or public types of industries, but also to private industry as well. If I could explain behavior change sort of just to wet everybody's whistle, if you think about how old you are today and what your thoughts on seatbelts are today versus when you were a kid, you'll understand it. When I was growing up, we didn't even think about putting our seatbelts on. And today, not only is it a law that you wear your seatbelt, but it's almost impossible to get into a car and not have it strap itself on you itself. And that is how society has changed in relation to just one subject. That is social marketing, or that is behavior change in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear your journey. Appreciate that. And behavior change is something we're going to dig deeper into today in this conversation, specifically considering we are deconstructing data. So we'd like to talk about data's evolving strategic role in this. So I'd love to have you kick that off for us.
Yeah. So the way that we use data traditionally, in a very quantitative manner, versus how we use it today and how we use it specifically in behavior change, is significantly different. obviously we're still trying to use both primary and secondary data to understand our audiences. But the one thing that how we view data and how and how we go about gathering it and analyzing it is we're trying to understand from the consumer's point of view or the customer's point of view or whatever we want is what motivates them to do whatever it is that they're doing. And a lot of that times that comes down to empathy. We do a fair amount of work in uh, tobacco cessation. In other words, don't smoke. So secondhand smoke, or just smoking in and of itself. And there was a time when people on our side of that issue were trying to scare the public, trying to get them to, hey, these are pictures of gross lungs, or um, um, you're going to die this horrible death, or whatever. And these things are all true, but they don't mean anything to the person who is addicted to tobacco. If I try to scare you, it's like, but I'm addicted. So I already know every day when I light up, or every 20 times a day when I light a cigarette, I know it's bad for me. And you telling me that it's bad for me is not what um, motivates me to quit, or whatever. So when we do research, and sort of dig deeper into it, and so it's not just quantitative research, it's a lot of qualitative, a lot of in-depth interviews, and even intercept surveys, and things like that that taught us that fear means nothing. We have to empathize with our audience. We have to understand things from where they are, and understand that it is a struggle for them. They understand that it's bad for them, and anything that we do to shame them or try to scare them is ineffective, because they already know it. So we try to approach it from an empathetic standpoint, like, we know it's hard, you can do it. We know it's hard, here are the tools to help you do it. We know it's hard, do it for your family, do it for the people that love you. A significant difference in the tactics that we use based on the data that we uncovered, if that's the way that you want to put it, um, to create campaigns.
That's
I
such
feel
a
like I got on a diatribe there, and
no, that's good.
I don't even know if I answered the question.
Yeah, no, it's a great. I think that's a perfect example of a behavioral change campaign,
Mhm.
and it sure addresses sort of the reference behind you with the Madman, poster, because of their involvement in that in that series,
Right?
with
Yeah, right. Lucky Strikes,
this,
huh?
yeah, exactly, with all the cigarette brands, but. Love that you guys are obviously doing the opposite, not advertising the cigarettes, but advertising the cures, things that are going to help people. But I certainly understand how looking at the sort of behavioral data and understanding how people think, and what will move them. We talk a lot about that when we talk about analyzing data and analyzing how to communicate with people. It's about moving them, right? And so that's a perfect example of being able to use data to move people to to have an effect on them with the campaign.
Yeah.
Mm.
Something else we found, David, is not telling them, it's showing them.
Yeah.
So we call it modeling behavior. But we want to, in behavior change, Margaret, we want to model the behavior that we want people to um, uh, undertake, or whatever. So if if we show people smoking, or we show people dipping or whatever, and then talk about how bad it is, we're really not going to move the needle. So we want to show people in that particular industry or category, want to show people living a smoke free life, which means not always worrying about, I haven't had one in an hour or whatever, but showing them in settings where they're enjoying themselves and enjoying their family, enjoying their kids, and not worried about it. The same's true in, other other social sort of issues, like recycling or things like that, or even, frankly, distracted driving, or we do work and text and drive and drink and drive and all
Mm-hmm.
that. So you don't want to show, you see a lot of that. Oh, I'm showing somebody texting and getting in a crash or whatever. We all know that, you
Yeah.
know. We know it today. We know it.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't in the first year or two of texting, but we all know it. What we want to show is the behavior that we want people to model, uh, versus the fear of what happens when you do it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because showing rather than telling also relies on knowing who you're actually talking to. If you think about the data, and if the data is off, and if you're showing the wrong story to the wrong person, then nothing's gonna land.
Yeah,
I mean, we see it all the
yeah,
time with identity data, right? When the audience is real and accurate, the story really finally connects.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's right.
Right on. I think
Yeah.
about it from a um, we have people in low socioeconomic um, areas of of town or whatever, or we call low SES, but and we we want to encourage them to eat more fruits and vegetables and less sugary drinks and things like that, but they don't have necessarily always have the ability to do that. There's $1 million stores around the corner that don't have the fresh produce. um, so a lot of times the behaviors that we're modeling are community gardens, or um, uh, we call them food deserts, but how do you get access um, to the things that you want people to do when it so sometimes even cities or communities fund, um, or 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 help to support, um, um, sorry, food, vegetable markets and things
Oh,
like,
Yeah.
food farmers
um,
markets?
farmers
Yeah.
market.
Yeah.
Thank
I remember, I think it was when my daughter was in middle school or high school. I volunteered with her at a community garden, and it was cool.
Nice.
It was really neat. It was literally
you.
a
Mhm.
farm on a church property.
Yeah,
The church donated the property, and they literally had one guy who was like a former farmer, so he knew all
yeah,
about what to do. And then we had all these volunteers that would come and work the mini farm,
yeah,
and we turned out a lot of produce that we were able to bring to food banks and stuff. And then, we got to take some home too. So, so that was nice.
yeah,
But yeah, it was really a cool experience. And it was really interesting to see how that affected
yeah,
the community, being
yeah.
able to do that. So that's
The
an
goal
interesting.
is to make that normal.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I are speaking about it, and there's one that I'm involved with too. We're speaking about it as if, oh, hey, did you know, or whatever. But we're trying to normalize such things so that they become just part of society.
Yeah.
And
That would be
you know
amazing.
you you have to go through steps to do it. You have to bring awareness to it, and then you have to change attitudes about it, then you have to change behaviors associated with it, and then eventually you can change social norms. But
Yeah.
it's a it's a process.
Yeah, for
Quite the
sure.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure having good insights helps you make a good story. So, transitioning into the next topic, marketing insights, turning raw data into action. Could you talk to us a little bit about that, Tim?
Yeah, I can, and the I sort of mentioned this a minute ago, um, but knowing what the motivation is versus what the data is those are two completely different things. I mean, the data is the truth, but it's the insight into that data that helps us tell that story that actually motivates people. Um, and there's a ton of different stories about it, but what we're trying to do is actually inspire people. Um, and so I will tell you that I love um, one thing about quantitative data, and that is the crosstabs. And to me, that only informs me for more questions. So I want to, if the data says this, I'm like, yeah, but what does this group think about it, or what does this group that answered this way think about it? And then we have this. Okay, well, they think this. Well, then now I want to go and I want to say, well, let's do some sort of either in-depth interviews or intercept interviews in that part of town, or whatever it is, because you always want to know more, right? So this is what they say, and this is their reality. But why are they thinking that? What's their truth? If we never um, go past what the quantitative data is, we're never going to know what the emotion behind those answers are. And that emotion can be joy and happiness. It can be fear. Um, it can be apprehension, or whatever. So unless we know the emotion behind it, this is really where, to be frank, AI fails us today. Is we want to know what's the emotion behind the decision, um, or the action, so that we can address that. And this is not too far away from what we do when we're trying to get some sort of issue passed or policy passed or whatever, which frankly is the ultimate goal, especially in like um, in tobacco cessation and vaping and things like that, as you want better policy. But we're always looking for what's the emotion that is driving that decision versus what's the decision and what's the demographic of the person who made it, and where do they live and how old are they, and what's their household income. um, so so we do I mean, that's where we spend our time, and that includes like social listening, um, and other types of data feedback and engagement and conversation. So it's not light work, and it's not just a simple survey, um, but we're trying to understand down to a very micro level, of that target, or of that audience, or whatever, about what that motivation is. And this is, I'm speaking in mostly the forms of public health, or public issues, but we apply this also to the corporate world and the consumer based world. We can apply it to the banking industry, and why people choose the bank that they do and why they don't switch. And it's generally about I hate my bank, but it's friction and things like that. But if we don't go like beyond, below that, and be it below that, we don't know. um, I did a um, um, project. It was a client actually, but the part of the work was rebrand project, and we were talking about commercial loans, and the bank, the client, told us that people hate being told no on a loan. And so we need to figure out a way to soften that, but also to say yes more often. And how can we be more positive about things and all that? And so we go out in the field and do this research, and that was wrong. We were looking for what's the message to tell to tell prospects and customers about how we can get to yes more often, but that was wrong. What was right was, I don't care if you tell me no. Yeah, if I've applied for a loan or this, that, whatever, I don't care if you tell me no, but tell me quick.
Mm-hmm.
Don't string me out and then tell me no. If it's no, it's no.
Mm-hmm.
But I want a quick decision. And so we would have gotten it totally wrong. Um, if we would have listened to, frankly, what the client who's having face-to-face conversations every day, if we hadn't, you know, gone below and gotten to the emotional side of it. Pisses people off to have to wait to be told no.
Sure. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
just saying.
It's very frustrating. I mean, that's true in sales too, right? I mean, you want to
Mhm.
get to a no as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, age old
Yes.
truism. Yep.
Even the no's, that's still good data, right?
Yeah. So I'm really curious about, like, from what you were talking about, the emotions, it's really
Mhm.
easy to get the data of understanding, the decision that people make, right? That's
Hmm.
easy to track from a data perspective, but tracking the emotion that caused that decision seems much more difficult, and to your point, subjectively, you can ask people, but you're not always going to get, the right answer, right? Because
Right.
people aren't always truthful in a survey, or they
Right.
don't really truly understand the emotion that caused it. So I'm
Mhm.
really curious to understand, like, how do you determine that? Like, it's such an interesting data point to understand people's emotion that causes them to make a decision.
Yeah. There's not just one way to do that, David. At least in our experience. Um, so in-depth interviews and intercept surveys, to me, are better than the quantitative in this regard. But
Mhm.
we also, in behavior change, we do a lot of A/B testing. But before we get to that, we do a lot of message testing, copy testing, and message testing. Um, so the old days, you would do focus groups in a group, and today it's online, and you can individualize it more. But we make assumptions about, through the research, about what some of the messages should be, and then we put some of those, in sort of a story form in front of people, and and ask them, what resonates with you more, and why it does. So it's all the way from interviews, and collecting the data, um, all the way through interpreting the data, and then putting messages in front of people, and getting them to respond. And I would say that, when you put out surveys, um, we know 90% of 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 what's coming back. It's that other 10% that makes you really, um, go, well, this is why we did the research.
Mm.
This is why we did it. Um, there's some Maya Angelou quote that I saw in a presentation one time. It basically said that people will forget what you say, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And and um, and I think that's a really good lesson for marketers in general, but certainly for those of us that are trying to positively influence behavior.
100%. I love that quote.
Yeah.
It's true. They remember how you made
Yeah.
them feel.
Yeah, and
Right.
that doesn't matter, like, if it's a one-on-one personal interaction or if it's a, an advertisement. It's really it completely, the way that an advertisement, for a specific brand can make a you feel, it leaves an impression about that brand just as strongly as
Yeah.
as a one-on-one, person-to-person conversation could leave an impression. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what everybody's trying to do during the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
Definitely leave
I
a
thought they're just trying to make everybody laugh.
Yeah. They're trying to make you
That's
feel
emotion.
something for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
yeah.
Interesting. So anything more on marketing insights and turning raw data into action, Tim?
Oh, probably. Um, there was this was been quite some time ago, but we were in charge of launching a recycling program for a community, and um, the only data that we had was secondary and community research and things like that. But there happened to be some school data or youth data uh, uh, around it that sort of caught my eye. And um, through some follow up and this was really all secondary, and then just some um, just some casual conversations. Honestly, we took an approach that most households didn't really care all that much about recycling. That it was their norms were to throw everything in the same trash bin and all that, but that it was the youth, through what they had heard in school and learned literally in like scout programs and things like that, that were really the ones that were more passionate about it. And so we launched a recycling campaign that was youth oriented to get the kids in a house, if to just use normal vernacular, to get kids in a household to put upward pressure on the household to, we throw this away, and this is recycled because this is better for the earth. That turned into the most successful um, recycling launch that the company that managed it had ever done. It's a national company. You've heard of it. Because we looked at, we took insight versus just raw information and pursued it, and really created a theory about it, and then pursued that theory, and it was validated, and so we launched it. So in terms of percentages of households that participated in the first month or 3 months or whatever of this recycling program, was because we aimed it at kids, not adults. Go figure. But
That's great. That's
um,
really
yeah,
Definitely. I don't know. I don't even know how to add on to that. It's just a good story.
yeah, no, it's perfect. It's a perfect
Absolutely.
example.
It's a perfect example. And so I guess let's segue into our third topic, which is public messaging. I know you were talking earlier about testing messaging, but for this topic, could you focus on personalization through data insights?
yeah. And I've probably rambled so much that I've covered half of what I might say about that or more. Um, I'm gonna go back to psychographics here for a second, um, but at sort of a micro level. Um, when we're able to tap into the emotional side of a brain, meaning that's not that's like your emotion and my emotion and emotional reaction to anything is going to be different. Same thing, but different reaction. Deloitte says that 95% of our decision making is emotional, and and there's another study that said like emotional campaigns, I think it was Neuroscience Institute, emotional campaigns outperform rational ones like double, like 30% to 15 or 30% to 16 or whatever it is. And then emotionally connected consumers spend twice as much with any particular brand.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always trying to connect emotionally, and some things can do that one-on-one, and some things sort of have to do it in mass. There are some very targeted channels that we can use, being digital. I mean, paid social is a fantastic targeted channel. So is streaming today, because we can target it better because we have so much more self-reported data, and we have so much more data. So in the industries where we work, I wouldn't say that anything is one-on-one. But the reasons why people choose to recycle, or choose to not drink and drive, or text and drive, or choose to not smoke with their kids in their car, and things like that, there's they're different, but they're in groups. So personalization to us is not one-on-one. It's small groups, it's micro groups. And what we have to remember is that in behavior change marketing, not everybody's at the same place with any particular um, subject matter. So if we're talking about smoking with children in the car, which, believe it or not, is still legal many places, and secondhand smoke causes emphysema, and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me going. Um, um, the reason why I would why some people would advocate for that versus another, they're different. So we want to appeal to these people who believe that you're protecting the children, and we want to appeal to these people who believe that secondhand smoke is wrong in any manner, and then we want to be empathetic with the people who are doing it but don't realize the danger it is that they're causing. So personalization for us is small groups with different types of messaging, and we can target them by the engagement that they've had with our messages. But it's not as one-on-one, if you will. Hope that answers.
Yeah, for sure. That makes complete sense. I mean, obviously, you're going to be targeting different groups of people, based on different behaviors with different messages. And luckily today, it's a lot easier to do today than even just a few years ago.
Certainly than when I started.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah,
Totally.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
It's easy to test it, to implement it, so much easier for all of those things, and to make sure it's being seen by the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much
And
has
one
changed.
thing too is that I think what advertisers sort of lose in this space is we got to talk like humans. Like, we use a term called NRT, nicotine replacement therapy, in our work. You probably don't know what NRT is, and so we talk about we have to speak like that in human terms, and not use the geek speak or the industry speak, or else we lose them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no connection. and there's no emotion about it. But it seems simple for us as marketers, but um, it's not. It's lost on a lot of people. It's why a lot of campaigns fall flat, because we're using our language and not their language, and our scenarios and our beliefs and not theirs.
Yep, that makes perfect sense.
Definitely. Yeah, thanks for walking us through all of that. Anything else on public messaging and personalization through data either of you might add before we ask you about your favorite tools in your tech stack?
Go ahead, David. I'll follow up on you.
What's that? No, I don't have anything more to add to that. You're the expert on this. This is not my this is not my but yeah, thank you.
There's a lot of discussion, on brand loyalty um, today. Um, I mean, Amazon's a great choice, and the thing is that we have found, and data tells us, is people don't want to be disloyal. Um, but 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 brand loyalty is built on trust, and it's built on connection, and that requires us to have emotional intelligence. Um, it requires us to be able to utilize um, emotions uh, for good, if you will, and emotions drive action. So if anybody is feeling like, oh, people in my space just you know don't appreciate my brand, or don't differentiate my brand because everything is a commodity now, that's on the marketer. As far as I'm concerned, emotions drive action, and so we have to have the emotional intelligence to be able to um, to craft messages that are gonna appeal to the target, and and then be prepared for the action that follows, and to be able to convert it. But we know for a fact that emotional marketing um, works, especially in behavior change.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Absolutely. As we establish, people do things because of for emotional reasons.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I love that. And it humanizes marketing too, right? Like we can talk about data all day long, but at the end of the day, we do have to appeal to the human with emotion. Um, so anyway, let's move into tech stack. Could you tell us, Tim, what are some of your favorite tools in your tech stack that empower you and your team?
So fundamentally, we're a Microsoft organization, and we rely heavily on Teams, Microsoft Teams. So we use it for our chat. So, or some people use Slack or whatever. We use it for video conferencing, although we use Zoom too. We have channels by team. We have channels by group, or by account, or um, leadership versus a department, or whatever. So, um, and I'm not selling Teams. It's just we're in it all day. We use SharePoint for big file sharing and for big operational types of issues. We have a weekly, what we call food for thought, but it's a weekly lunch and learn, and those are recorded and stored there, as are all the pertinent agency forms, travel forms, and reimbursement forms, and all those types of things. Um, if anybody's trying to get a hold of me, they need to text me, because I get so many emails. I may not see them. I get so much spam on my phone. Uh, I'm If I don't recognize it, I'm not going to uh, pick it up. So it's like, I can get text like, I really need you to address that email I just sent you, and you're better off texting me. Um, we are obviously using and experimenting miscellaneous AI tools. I know everybody's in Chat GPT. I know there's a lot of people excited about um, Gemini. But depending on what department it is that you're in, um, you know, depends on what AI tools um, that you're using. Um, we are converting to NetSuite as our operational software. It's been long and painful, but we're very hopeful that it's going to give us a lot more data and the ability um, to analyze that data and utilize that data to run our company better and do better work for our clients and operate more efficiently and effectively. Um, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on tools. Um, so unfortunately,
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I get that. Um, I've started playing with a new tool this week, HeyGen.
Oh, I have
yeah,
HeyGen. Love HeyGen.
Yeah, it's doing a really good job for building a video presentation that I want to do. The biggest challenge I had was getting it to say our company name properly, and then once I got it to say it properly, it then um, displayed it incorrectly. It used the phonetic display in the caption. So I'm still working on that, but we're
yeah.
getting there.
We have a
Nice.
client, David, that we deliver about 30 or so video assets a week, 52 weeks a year, and they all have a voiceover on them. And we've tried to utilize an AI tool for that VO, but um, it can't get the phonetics right.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and and it can maybe for the average consumer, but our client likes words said a certain way.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Decor versus decor, what whatever.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so working on it.
Yeah. They
Definitely.
interestingly have like this glossary section where you can define words and then tell it phonetically how to say it. But the challenge I'm having is that it then converts it into like the phonetic spelling, and it used
Yeah.
that phonetic spelling in the caption. So I'm like, that's defeats the purpose, you know.
Right.
So whatever.
Well,
But none of these tools are perfect yet. So
you're like, hey Jen, get it right.
yeah.
Yeah. Get it right. Well,
Mhm.
in closing, Tim, would you like to let listeners know how they can find you?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Tim Berney, and that's spelled Berney. And messaging me there is probably the best way. Our company is VI, that's Victor Igloo, VI Marketing and Branding. And so vimarketingandbranding.com. And then you can find us on all the multiple social platforms. And I'd love to engage on any topic. If somebody wants to message me and tell me I'm totally wrong about something that we just said, I'd even love to converse about that. So always be learning. Um,
Definitely.
so
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tim. We really appreciate you joining us on the show today. This was a really interesting conversation about something that we haven't discussed before, really. So I appreciate that, and hope our viewers and listeners learned a little something today as well.
yeah, well,
Yes.
I've enjoyed several of your podcasts, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I guess I'll let Jesse close it out for us then.
All right.
Sounds good. And that I'll do by starting with putting the QR code up on the screen for those watching on video. If not, you can just go to bdex.com and click on Talk to an Expert. But we want to invite you to get powered by BDEX. So BDEX's industry-leading identity graph is trusted by many major brands, and it's the trusted foundation powering some of the top ad tech and MarTech platforms across the ecosystem. So, our comprehensive identity resolution is driving results across multiple channels. So, we've got precision and ad targeting and website visitor retargeting to direct mail campaigns to lead generation, and also just turning anonymous website traffic into actionable customer intelligence. So, whether you're looking to enhance your targeting accuracy, recover your abandoned carts, scale lead generation efforts, or maximize performance across digital and offline channels, BDEX is delivering the most accurate identity resolution in the industry. We eliminate the bots, the bad data, and all the waste that your marketing budget is just being drained by, while actually providing you the real verified audiences that drive measurable ROI. So join some of the leading platforms that trust BDEX to power their success and check out that QR code. But other than that, we hope you all have a great week. And Tim, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it very
All
much.
right.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good night.